Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our presentation today, Digital Plan Review for Governments with Bluebeam Review. My name is Alan Biermacher, and I'm the Customer Success Manager here at Digital Drafting Systems. And we're excited to get started today. Today, we're going to have our presenter, Ari Rejtman, who is our AEC Technical Specialist and Bluebeam Certified Instructor, presenting to you. Ari, if you could go to the next slide for some logistics. So some important information, all attendees will be muted during the presentation. If you do have any questions, please send them via the chat box. This webinar will be recorded for future viewing, and that will be sent out after the presentation, either today or tomorrow. Bluebeam review training is available, and if you are interested in that, you can contact us for more information. And this information will be provided at the end as well, but if you'd like, if you have any questions or you'd like any information, you can give us a call at 305-445-6480 or email us at info@ddscad.com. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ari.
Thank you, Alan. Hi, everybody. My name is Ari, and it is a pleasure to be giving you all this presentation today. So let's go into some of the benefits of today's webinar. We're going to be showcasing the best practices for digital reviews. We're also going to be improving our paperless workflows. We're going to learn how to sign and seal multiple pages in the same PDF set. This is very important, especially when somebody signs a document and then gives it to you to sign as well. We're going to identify changes and revisions quickly by using the comparison and overlay tools. We'll learn how to communicate with our clients efficiently, save commonly used markup tool sets and deploy them across various departments with the tool chest. It's very easy to standardize all of your tools and make sure that everybody's on the same page. We're going to track and share markup data from your view to spreadsheets. So basically you can take all your data and you can send it to Excel and vice versa. The state of Carolina is a really nice case study. They've seen a 39% increase in productivity as a result of adopting Bluebeam Review. So we're going to look in that case study as well and see what exactly they've been doing. And I do want to also share with you all some GovBug information, because this is a webinar specifically for municipalities. And we have a really nice set of user groups through GovBug that I'll be sharing with you guys pretty soon. So just so you all know, the state of North Carolina has adopted Bluebeam Review as one of their main programs to help them with their productivity. And it's helped them with 39% increase. And basically, they needed to save time and money, as do we all. And that's, of course, why they adopted this digital plan review process. What they did exactly was they used this methodology that basically they call just in time. So they only train people based on what they need to know. So if I was to show you all every single function in Bluebeam Review, that would probably take me a good 8 hours, maybe more, especially if we were training together. But what we do here at Digital Drafting Systems, which is very similar to the just-in-time methodology, is we give customized training where we teach you what you need to know based on your workflow. So if you don't use any measurement tools, we don't even go over it. As long as you understand the basics, you can also learn all the complex stuff as well. So, all right, and here is our Government Bluebeam user group info. We'd love for you all to join GovBug, and basically you can connect with everyone. What GovBug is basically is a knowledge sharing platform. It basically unites Bluebeam Review users from local municipalities and government agencies all across the US. And it's a great way to get some more presentations geared towards municipalities. There are virtual meetings that are occurring every quarter from different groups. For example, the Orange County one in California recently had a nice meeting, and we were part of that. And yeah, I recommend that if you all are interested to email communities@bluebeam.com and get started with it. It'll be a very, very nice thing to do. And we're planning on trying to set up a GovBug chapter here in South Florida. So we'll keep you all in the loop in regards to that. Now, without further ado, let's look at our webinar overview, and we're going to get into it really soon. We're going to learn about profiles in the tool chest. We've gone over profiles in previous webinars, but I want to show you all how important it is to standardize your profile, your interface, and then that way you can have one for yourselves, a personal one, and you can have one for everybody in your office. We're going to learn how we can share profiles and drawing mode versus properties mode in the tool chest. Very, very important, very powerful. We're going to learn about signing and reviewing documents, the difference between document certification and just signing a document, and then sharing our digital ID certificates and how that process works. That way, when you send and receive documents from clients and to clients, you'll be able to make sure that all the information is able to be verified and the signatures will always be valid. We'll get into Studio projects and sessions. Review 20 has some new features in projects and sessions. We went over that in our Review 20 webinar, but I'll go over it quickly in this one. Basically, Studio projects is great for archiving, and Studio sessions is amazing because it allows you to collaborate on the same PDF at the same time with a lot of people. I believe 500 is the limit. We'll look at forms in form mode and how to automatically create form fields, because I believe that should be quite useful for most of you in the government workplace. So without further ado, I'm going to switch into Bluebeam Review, and let's do it. So we can access our profiles by going to the Review dropdown, mousing over profiles, and you can see which profiles are available. There's usually 4 that are available. I've made one for myself, and I actually had one from one of our clients that I was teaching them how to make. So what you can do is you can click on Manage Profiles, and you can see all the profiles here as well. You can start to modify them, delete them. For example, I don't need this one, so I'm just going to delete it. And to make a new profile, you can select an existing one, and that way you'll make a copy of it. Also, whatever profile is currently in use, that one will be copied. So even if you select it on the list, it doesn't really matter. It just needs to be selected. So you want to make sure that before you do this, that there's a check mark next to your profile. So right now, if I was to make a new one, it would be a copy of this profile. So I would just click on Add, give it a new name, and then we're good to go. You can also import and export profiles. So this is really, really important. What you'll want to do is you'll want to export your profile once, EPX file, and you can save it. It's a very small file. Save it to your PC. You can put it on your network server, and you'll want to send it via email and keep it on the USB, just so that if you go to another PC, you have all your interface and profile stuff ready to go. I've already modified my profile a lot, so it's important for me to save time and to bring it with me. So I have it wherever I go. And then you can import right here as well. The profile will control your interface. So right now I have certain toolbars that are turned on. I can go to the tools dropdown and toolbars. And by default, the status bar is not turned on. So I tell everyone in every presentation, turn this status bar on. I'll turn it off and show you what it is. It's at the bottom of the screen. So now it's gone, and there it is. So it's this bar that gives us instructions on every single function. Right now it says ready because I'm using the pan tool. And we have other functions that are important quick keys, such as snapping to content, which allows us to take any markup tool, such as the line tool, and we can literally snap to lines that are flattened on our screen. You can see this little square that keeps appearing. And then the square will turn blue at the end point of any of these lines. So basically, similar to CAD programs, we have nearest, midpoint, here's the midpoint of this one, end point, and I believe that is it. Yeah, we just have those. And actually, look at that. We actually have quadrants. Amazing. So yeah, really, really powerful stuff. I almost always keep snap to content on unless I'm trying to click on something close to a line and I don't want to click the line. Then we have snap to markup. So the markups that we place on our sheet, we can actually snap to them as well. So I'll turn that on, and you can see that there's all these guidelines that are now appearing that are trying to allow me to snap perfectly to markups. So here, I can now start from there and align my markup perfectly between this point and that point. And then I can just snap right there. I keep this off most of the time because those guidelines can be a little bit intrusive. So I'm going to keep that one off. And then we have reuse markup tools. I like to use this because when I make a tool, basically I can then keep going and make more and more. For some people, this can be confusing because they don't understand that, oh no, why do I keep making tools? I want to stop. And so that's where, if you're a CAD or BIM user, pressing the escape key will come natural to you. You just have to press the escape key and you're good to go. So you might have noticed that every time that I used a new tool, the bottom text changed. So the line tool is telling us to select a start point and drag the mouse to the endpoint release. That's nice. And holding shift will snap. Oh, holding shift actually, from what I know, allows us to draw in the 4 cardinal directions. So we can go left, right, up and down, and diagonal. So it's quite useful if you need to draw exact lines. I'm going to use the select tool right here to quickly select all of these lines that I made. They must be fully encapsulated. Actually, I lied. They have to be partially encapsulated. Usually they have to be fully encapsulated. And we can just delete all these lines. All right, so that's some beginning steps about the interface. Let me show you guys where we can find our toolbars. Back to tools and the toolbars mouse over. And here are all the different toolbars we have. So for example, form has a current bug where it always turns itself off every time you close an open review. No problem, we'll just turn it on again. So you can see that it appeared right here on my screen. So yep, we have all these different toolbars. I have all mine turned on just for demonstration purposes, but you can have certain toolbars on and off depending on what you'd use on a day-to-day basis. And that way you can save on your drawing space. The less toolbars you have up here, the better. I've also taken my profile and made it from the Review Advanced profile. And this makes sure that I have split my major functions on the left and the right. So I can view properties while I'm viewing my tool chest. And so when I have a tool activated from the tool chest, if I need to, I can modify its properties right then and there, and I can see its properties. You can see here that this text box tool that I've made has very special opacity properties and special fonts and font sizes, etc. So that's why I like the Review Advanced profile, and I use that to make my profile. All right, so that's profiles. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and make sure that we are on the same page. Yes, so tool sets. The tool chest is very, very important. Let's open that up again. And our tool chest, you can see I have plenty of tools that I've saved under my specific tool chest. By the way, I have quite a few tools that I've brought from Bluebeam's website. They have many tools, many profiles, extra stamps, many different things that were created by different users and Bluebeam themselves. And you can find other different tool groups online. So for example, I have some proofreading tools, all kinds of architectural and engineering tool sets, such as windows, doors. I have some electrical stuff, all the different electrical symbols that are on there, plumbing, etc., and so on and so forth. I mean, HVAC, the categories don't stop. I have different home furniture things. Some of my favorites are the landscaping tools. They're really, really cool to use. And then one of my other favorites are people. So if you want to, you can place some people on your sheet and simulate people in different scenarios, whether it's landscape or in plan mode. And then even security and CCTV. So lots of different categories and options here. So with our tools in our tool chest, what we can do is we can actually change them and use them in different ways. Right now, I have my tools set to properties mode. I use most of them in properties mode. I'm going to double click on them, and you're going to see that their icons are starting to change now. They're now looking exactly like the way that I saved them initially to my tool chest. So here's the Textbox template that I just have on my screen for demonstration purposes. You don't have to have your tools on a page to use them. You can just have them in your tool chest, make a new PDF, and start using them. They're already saved in the program. So this Textbox template for me is not really powerful because it just says Textbox template, and I would have to click it and then select it again, and I'd have to edit that text. And that's a little bit silly. Now, what could be useful if there's a specific set of terminology or verbiage that I use on a day-to-day basis, and I don't want to have to type it out every single time. A good example of that would be if I need to say approved or denied for a set of permits that I'm getting from my clients, then you can literally just write that in, save that to your tool chest. By the way, to save a tool, all you have to do is right-click on top of it, mouse over, add to tool chest, and choose whichever one of the tool sets that you have. So I could put it in AR tools, and there it is again. I have it for the second time. I'm going to get rid of that. And now, instead of having to use it in its carbon copy mode, or drawing mode, as Revu calls it, I'm going to use it in properties mode. So I'm going to double click on my tools again. And now they're all changing to a bit more of a generic icon. The icon does not look exactly like the tool did, but it kind of looks like it has the tool symbol itself, and it looks like the tool's color and some of the other properties it keeps. So if we go to the tools dropdown in markup, that same square A is representative of text box, and you can see it right here. So I know this is a text box. The circular A is a typewriter tool, so this one must be a typewriter tool, and so on and so forth. I have callouts, I have the Cloud and Cloud Plus tools up here, and if you go to Tools and Measure, I have all the measurement tools, and you can see the symbol associated with them. So this is the area tool, and here's the area tool right here. So now that I'm in properties mode, I can use that same text box. My cursor is ready to make a brand new one of any size that I want. And so now I can type new data, press the escape key when I'm done, and there's my new text box. The same properties are in place, same font size, same everything. The difference is I've typed in new data. So you can use your tools in those ways, and it's quite useful. Once you have all your tools set up for your office, you can then share them with everyone. So you don't have to have everybody make a simulation or a copy of each other's tools. You can just share them easily, and there's no discrepancies then. You can click on this gear wheel right next to any tool group. So I can click on this gear wheel. This is for recent, so you can't really share those. But yeah, for basic stamps, I could do it. And here's my AR tools one. You can save your tool chest, and then you can export it. This is a nice small file, a .btx file instead of bpx for profile. And so both your profiles and your tools can be saved, and you can share them quite easily. They're very small, nice, lightweight files. Send them to each other in an email, and then you can import them. You can import tools by clicking on the tool chest dropdown up here. You can go to Manage Tool Sets at the bottom, and import is right here. And this is another place where you can export as well. You can also create new tool groups by clicking on Add, and then you can give it a new tool group. You can show it in all profiles, or you can show it in one profile so that when you switch to a different one, there are different tools available. It depends on what you're going for. And that's it. That's how our tools can really help us to get work done quickly, and we don't have to worry about retyping in the same set of instructions over and over again. Let's head back to our overview. Let's see what's next. Signing and reviewing documents. All right, this is going to be something very important that I think all of you are going to be using, or at least most of you. So when it comes to signing documents, there's a lot of procedures that are very, very important to follow. If not, then you won't be able to sign a document twice. And sometimes if you receive a document from a client, you're also not going to be able to sign it if they've already signed it. So let's give an example of that. I have one signature field here. If I was to sign this document and then try to sign on top of it, it wouldn't let me. Even if I just did a regular signature, it would invalidate the previous signature, and that would not be a good thing. So we're going to go to the signatures panel right here. Looks like a nice little ink pen. And the first option here is to sign document. This one is to add a signature field. Let's pretend that I am the client and I'm going to be sending this to a government municipality for review and for permit approval. So I need to make a second signature field for the government. And if there were other people signing, I have to keep that in mind before I sign. How many people am I anticipating are going to be signing this entire document? In this case, we're just going to do it for one other person. You can do this for as many people as you want, so make as many signature fields as you want. So I'm going to make the second one right here. And I am going to now show you guys the difference between form mode and markup mode. Right now, you can see that the signature fields are a bit darker blue. If I select the signature field, it has grips on it. I can modify it, and I can make different changes to it if I need to. I have properties open here, and you can see that there are signature field properties. I can give it a specific name, and I can have different tool tips that I can give over it. So if somebody mouses over it, I can say signature for client, for example. And now that I've changed my signature field, I need to press the escape key. Now you can see that the signature fields are a bit lighter blue. And when I select them, instead of actually selecting them and modifying them, I immediately am ready to sign the field. Before I do, I just want to show you all that when I mouse over this, it says signature for client. And if I mouse over this one, it just says that it's an unsigned signature field. So you can actually specify whose signature field is whose if you want your client to sign in a specific area and not to sign on top of where you typically sign your signatures. That can save a lot of time too. So it's important to communicate that with your clients. So I'm going to pretend that I'm the client and that I've been given instructions by my government municipality. So I'm going to now sign the first signature field. This is going to be the one for me. So I need to sign in with my digital ID. And before I sign it, I want to show you all what digital IDs are. We're going to go to the Tools dropdown, Signature, and we have the Signed Document and Certified Document options. That's basically the same as if you sign document, you'll make a signature field. If you certify, you can basically certify in the background without having to place a physical signature on your sheet. So I recommend not certifying like that. It's really nice to certify with a signature. That way you have the best of both worlds. And if you just certify in the background, then nobody really knows if you certified. They'll know once they try to make modifications, but that's really not a useful thing. So then we have validate signatures here. The same function is also in the signatures tab right here. And this is how you can verify that your signatures are actually valid. And the only way that they're going to be valid is if your digital ID is attached to your file, or if your client or you yourself have taken your client's digital IDs and put them in the trusted identities area. Let me show you digital IDs first. Here we have my digital ID. You can see that I'm logged out right now. If I click on it, it gives me some generic information. There we go. This is the day that I made it. It'll expire in 10 years. Uh-oh, I got to make another one then? Oh, man. That's okay. And what we can do here is we can make new digital IDs. We can click on the plus symbol. This is the same window that's going to pop up when you actually try to sign for your first time. And Revu is going to ask you, what kind of digital ID do you want? If you browse for an existing one, then you can look for one that was made by a third party. For example, IdenTrust is a third-party identification company, and they will give you a file which will act as your signature. If you don't have third-party certification, don't worry, you can create a digital ID with Bluebeam. That's what I've done. And you can also create one in the Windows Certificate Store if your government or municipality requires that. Most of the time, I know that you all don't require that, so I'm assuming that you can just either create a digital ID or you're just going to use third-party certification. All you need is your name and email address. You would just put in a password and you are good to go. So let me take a drink of water 1 sec. Give me 1 moment. Excuse me. All right. So what we can do with our digital IDs in this window is we can export them. This is really where it all begins. Now, before I'm able to export my digital ID, I need to know my password. So I'm going to type it in. Let's see if I know it on the first try. Yes, I do. So it's this .cer file. It's also a rather small file, but you don't want to attach this to an email. The reason why is because when you try to actually download the file from an email as an attachment, it's not going to let you. It's going to be blocked out. So there's another way to send a digital ID without attaching it to an email directly. We're actually going to attach it to our PDF instead. And then our clients or us as government municipalities, we can extract that digital ID and then save it into our trusted identities. So here's mine. I've already done this before. You can see what the icon looks like, and it's a .cer file. It's considered a security certificate. And so I have it here in my folder. Let's pretend that I am somebody else and I want to take my digital ID and bring it into my trusted identities folder. So I'm going to go to the tools dropdown, signature, and trusted identities. Here we can see all the trusted identities on this PC. When you make your digital ID, you already have yourself here, so this is automatic. But let's say that I wanted to add somebody else's. I would just click on the plus sign, and I can then look for their digital ID and open it, and it'll be there, and that is it. Now, when somebody gets your digital ID, they do not get your password or sensitive information. They just get enough information to tell them when you made your signature and that your signature came from a trusted place and it's valid. You need a digital ID in order to validate a signature. Without it, even if you send a signature to somebody and on your end it seems perfect and everything's valid, that won't be the case. For example, I believe that I have 2 examples right here. Let me show you guys both. I will say yes to that, but I will also open this file. There we go. So I have signed this one without a digital ID certificate. So as you can see here, it's been signed. And if I click on the validate signatures, we get this weird error, signer's identity unknown. And here under signatures, it says the same thing. But this is weird because it says signed by Ariel Rejtman. So what's going on? And so the digital ID is not here, so that's the error that you're going to get. And I know that as a government municipality, you all are not going to be able to really accept this properly. Now, I've got this file that I've attached my digital ID to it. Here it is right here. I'll show you all how to do that soon. And if I click on validate signatures, oh, that's odd. For some reason, it isn't working. Well, that's strange. Usually it will change this icon to a different one. We're actually going to test it on my end. But for some reason, maybe because I signed this a long time ago. Anyway, that was odd. Let's go back to finally signing this twice. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the first signature tab. And since I logged in previously to export my digital ID, it signed me in here. But every time you open and close Revu, you need to sign in again. So I have now signed in. If I want somebody to be able to sign again, I have 2 options. I can merely sign my with a digital signature, and that's it. And if I'm using something like a third-party certification, you just want to use digital signature. You do not want to use document certification because third-party certification circumvents that, and it's unnecessary to use this. In this case, because I'm using my Bluebeam ID, I'm just going to use document certification. Permitted changes after certifying are now available to me, so I can click on the dropdown. And we have no changes allowed, fill-in forms and digital signatures, and we can allow people to make markups, fill in forms, and sign if I wanted to. In this case, I do want people to sign after I sign, so I'm going to allow that, but I do not want them to make markups, so that's good. Then you can use the Reason tab to find any of these pre-populated options, or you can type your own reason if you'd like. And you can use this to type any specific legal information that you need to put onto your document. You can also specify location and contact info. Let's go to edit. Here, you can change how your signature is going to look. So right now, I have my large name acting as my signature, and then it's going to say digitally signed by me again, and my date. I've turned off everything that isn't relevant to me. If I wanted to, I can include location, and instead of actually typing a location, I can type in that sensitive legal information if I need to. And then under file, instead of having my name here, you can use a file and allow an image to supersede that. And then you can change the position of that image to be either the right or the left or in the background of your actual name and date and other information. So this is a great way to see if your name is going to fit into the seal. And there are a few ways you can do this. You can actually have this as part of your signature, or you can place a stamp like I've done on my sheet right here. And then you can place the signature pretty much on top of it. Having the stamp as part of the signature validates it a little bit more, and having it separate is okay. It depends on what is required by which municipality. I'm going to go back to name. I've turned off logo. Oh yeah, let's put my position back to the left. There we go. I've turned off logo because the logo is the Bluebeam logo and I don't really need that. And you can change your font size as well. Automatic makes sure that your font size will always fit however big your signature field is, so you can experiment with that. I like to keep mine at a pretty solid 20. When you're done, you can then sign. So I'm pretending once again that I am the client. I'm just going to say underscore signed by client. And you always want to rename your file, especially if you're putting it in the same folder as the other file. If you're putting it into a different folder, you can keep the name as whatever you want, but I always like to rename my file when I sign it. All right, so this file is now signed. And now we can click on Validate Signatures. Here we can see that we have an error coming up. For some reason, it thinks that my certification is invalid. But if I click on Validate Signatures, it now checks online and it checks my digital ID certificate. And it says, oh, yes, actually, everything is fine. And it found my digital ID, so this worked. So now let's pretend that I'm the government municipality who just received this. I've just received this file, I validated it, and now I'm reviewing it. Everything looks good, so I need to sign it as well. Now I can click on the signature panel. I'm allowed to sign it. You'll notice that document certification is not allowed anymore. You can only certify a document once, and whoever certifies it, that's it. The second person, or the third or the fourth, are only allowed to sign afterwards. So the first person basically shows that certification and the permissions have been set in stone, and they can't be changed afterwards. So now I can sign this. I can edit my signature if I needed to. I'm just going to sign my document twice, pretending I'm two different people. Uh-oh, sounds like I have a little bit of a schizophrenia thing going on. All right, so this is not signed by client. This is signed by Muni. Let's just call myself Muni. There we go. And there it is. Now we have the second signature. It has a different icon. It has that little ribbon icon instead of the paper icon. I can validate the signatures just in case. Everything is valid, everything's looking good, and this file is now appropriate. Now, let's go back to my original file. I didn't show you all how to attach the digital ID to your file. It's very important. So let's go back to this one. The digital ID, I already have one right here. We can go to the Tools dropdown and File Attachment. Here I can then browse for my digital ID. Here it is. Since I've already attached it, I'm just going to pretend to attach another file. It doesn't really matter what file you attach. So let me look for one of my outlines. There we are. Let's look at the Review Essentials outline. There we go. Let's do the flattened one. Now my cursor is ready to place an icon onto my drawing. So I can just click anywhere, and there it is. I have this little paperclip icon by default. This icon has a bit of an issue. It resizes itself as you zoom in on it, so it's a little bit hard to see. I have to kind of squint to tell what it is. So instead, I'm going to click on it, and with properties open, I'm going to change how it looks. I can change it to an attachment, which is this little pin right here, tags and graphs. Instead, I like the file icon the most. This icon does not change and resize itself, and this shows what kind of file I'm attaching. So Digital ID certificate literally looks like a certificate, and this is a PDF. So that was easy. Now that I have this file here, I can keep it selected, and in properties, I have a few more options. I can click on extract. So if I need to look at the digital ID, or if I need to save it on my PC and then put it into my trusted identities, this is how you do it. So I'm going to click on the digital ID this time just to show you how it works. I'm going to click on extract. I now have a few options. I can open it just to look at it, and I can save as to put it on my PC. After I do a save as, then I want to put it in trusted identities. Let's go back to cancel. I'm going to click on open. Here we can see all the certificate information. Don't worry, even though it says the root certificate is not trusted, that's just because I made it in Bluebeam Review. Sometimes it has to be installed into the PC itself. This also puts it into the trusted identities area, but it's kind of a visual bug, so don't worry. The certificate is definitely valid, I promise. Here you can see some details. This is the jargon that will allow it to be verified. Don't worry, this does not give any password information, so everything here is safe. And there it is, and that's my certificate. And so that's what you need in order to get your signature verified. So you want to tell all your clients to please send that to you before they send you any files, or excuse me, to attach it to your file. Now, once they do this once, and once you put this digital ID in trusted identities the first time, you don't have to do it again. They just have to do it for their first time. And if the same person is signing over and over and over again, then you don't have to worry. To be safe, it would be nice if they just have it attached to every document they sign. That way, there's no discrepancy, no problem. If something changes or they update their digital ID, you don't have to worry about, oh, it didn't work, but oh, I updated it. So now everything is good to go. And just so you know, if you extract a PDF file, which I'm going to do right here, it just opens up and you can view it, and there you go. This is our syllabus for our Essentials course, and there you go. All right, that was good. So now you all know that you can sign a document multiple times, and the digital ID certificates are extremely important. Let's go back to our overview. So I believe we've gone over 1 and 2. Let's go into Studio Projects and Sessions. I want to show you all how you can collaborate with everyone. And I actually met with a government municipality this morning, and they said that the main reason why they wanted to switch to Review was because they wanted to go paperless. They had too many papers, so many projects are coming in, especially at the beginning of the year, and they just need to go paperless. So I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's go into Studio, and I'll show you guys how you can go completely paperless. There is no need to worry about paper, and you can save your documents on the cloud for easy access. All right, so now we have Studio open. I'm going to sign out really quickly and show you all what it's like for your first time. And so you're going to see this right here. If you don't live in the US, don't worry. You have different regions that you can choose, and you can manage servers here if you need to. I'm going to sign into the US one. If I've already signed in before, or if I've already made my account, then it'll have my email, and I just need to put in my password. For your first time, you want to click on Create Account right here. And just input all your info, confirm and create it. Bluebeam is going to send you an email to verify your email. And once it's verified, you have an account. This is free. And while I do this, I have some really, really cool things to share with you all. Let's say that you have a client that does not own Bluebeam Review. Oops, look at that. I don't even know my password, guys. Oh my God. So if they don't have Bluebeam Review, you can tell them, no problem. Install the program. You can install it for free. Go to Studio Sessions, make a digital ID, or make a Bluebeam account. So just create an account. That's free as well. And then you, as the government municipality that owns Bluebeam Review, you can then invite your client to a studio session. They can join it. While they're in the session, they have access to all the different functionality of Review Standard. They can make markups, they can make measurements, they have access to the tool chest. So they can work with you, and they can get a little preview of how Review works in a cloud-based studio session. Now, when they try to use the program in a local sense for local files, they can only use it in viewer mode. But hey, if you have a client that isn't ready to invest in a program like this yet, or they want to see what it's like to use the program before investing, which I think is a great idea, then there you go. You can just join a session and you can see what it's like. So it's a great way to invite people that don't have it, and that way people don't have to commit necessarily. So I've signed into Studio Sessions. I can always sign out like I did before by clicking on the Studio dropdown, and I can click on Sign Out. And here I can also change my region if I need to by just mousing over my email. And we're going to go into Projects first. Projects is this first little icon right here. Sessions is the second one right here. So Studio Projects is basically an archiving tool. It's a good way for your clients to submit documents to you. And that way, only one person can work on a document at once. So it's a pretty secure way of doing it. I'm going to open up this project for presentations that I like to use. And I'm going to show you guys how it looks. Let me close out of my local file so we can see everything. So I've uploaded some files to my studio project. I can now access these files by just double clicking on them. I'm just going to open it in split view, which means that I'm keeping the project pane open while I do this. Let me make this smaller so I can show you all this little middle project pane. Here you can see the name of the project, and you can click on add to add folders, files, and upload and make new folders as well. So you can start to organize your files in here. I recommend that you make one project per client, and then different subsequent jobs that you're working on with your clients, that you can make folders for each one. That way you can stay very organized in projects. And then you have many different actions. You can synchronize, you can show your checkout review. This is actually quite important. This is going to show who checked out and what. Right now it's empty, but I'm going to show you all how you can look at your revision history after I check in and check out this file. Before I do, I have this file open here on the right side. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And what's weird is I have this check mark here that I want to modify. I want to delete this, but I can't right now. And if I go to properties, everything is grayed out here. If I right click on this, I have almost no options except to open properties. If I go to the tools dropdown and markup, everything is grayed out. That means that this file is able to be viewed in its current form, but it's still checked in to the server. So I need to be able to check it out. I'm going to click on the lock icon right here and check it out. Then the icon is going to change. It doesn't look like a lock icon anymore. It has a little piece of paper with a blue logo next to it. And now when I selected this markup, all of its properties are ready to go. I can move it around. I can modify it. I'm going to delete it now. I'm going to make a brand new one. So we're going to go to our highlight tool. Let's make a nice, simple green highlight. I'll put it right next to this Cloud Plus tool that I've made. There we go. So this is ready to go. And let's say that I'm done working. I have two options. If I want to save what I've done and continue working, I can merely update the server copy. I'm going to check in, which is going to basically put the file back onto the server and save all my work at the same time. When you check in, Revu is going to ask you if you want to write a comment. I'm going to call this one Revision 7. And now we're going to click check in. Let's see, check-in process isn't too bad. Once you check it in, you can then click on the lock icon once again. And by the way, now the lock icon's back, so the file is checked in again. I cannot click on this. I cannot modify, this markup. At least I can look at it so I can see some pertinent information. And so I'll click on the lock icon, and here is revision history. Every single time that I checked in and checked out this file, it shows the comment and it shows the date and the time. So I've been messing around with this file since when? 2019, back in October. It's been about over a year. Look at that. And now we can continuously go through, and there's revision 7 from today, right there on the dot. And we can see all the other revisions. And so this is a great way to see who is checking in and out of the file and when. All right, so that's Studio Projects. Definitely a good way to archive projects, and you can also have people submit files here. Working on files here on a day-to-day basis is okay if you're doing this on a steady internet connection at your office. If you're trying to work on studio projects remotely with an iPad or at a job site and you periodically might lose internet, then I do not recommend using studio projects. You don't want to lose your work, and you need to be able to check in your files if they're checked out. So let's go to Studio Sessions now. Studio Sessions is quite advanced and very exciting. It's this little icon right here. So we're going to click on this session for presentations. Before I do, a little tidbit for you all to know. We can see, this is new with Review 20, which sessions we've been invited to and which ones we've actually joined. In projects, I've joined all the sessions I've been invited to because under not joined, it says 0. But under sessions, under not joined, there's one session that I was invited to by my colleague Alex, and on purpose, I haven't joined it, so I can show you all this. This is really cool because back in the day, when somebody invited you to a project or a session, you would have to find the email that got sent to you, and then you would have to join the session through that link. Alex and I tested this, and I actually joined his project so that I could see how quickly it took. And after he sent me the invite, maybe 5 or 10 seconds later, it popped up in Review. I didn't even have the program open. I was just, at Alex's computer, my post. I came back here and I see not joined. and it was so quick. So I can join this session whenever I want to. I don't have to look for the specific email. The whole process has been streamlined, so it's really great. Let's click on Session for Presentations. Here is my studio session. Once again, I have some documents that I've uploaded to it. The interface looks a little bit different. It has its own panel on the left side. So let's open up this document right here. And now we can see that we have all different kinds of markups here. If I click on them, I can see who made the markup. And this one was made by me, so I can modify it whenever I want to. Now let's look at one of these markups right here. I cannot modify. I'm the one who made this session. I'm the admin, so I should have full control, but I don't. And that's because on purpose, Revu wanted to improve accountability. And Bluebeam said, you know what? We want people to communicate to each other when they need markups to be changed. But if you make a markup, you can feel assured that your markup is yours and cannot be changed unless you want to change it. And so this markup was made by Raquel. We can see the author right here. And I cannot modify it, which is great. And that's it. Now, if I wanted to, right click and copy this markup and I can paste it. So if Raquel makes a markup and I need to copy and paste it several times, that's not a problem. So you can copy somebody else's markup. It's now become my markup since I copied it. So that's pretty cool. All right, so in studio sessions, we have a lot of different ways to communicate with people. This is going to be very important to communicate with your clients and communicate internally as well. Let's say that I wanted to tell Raquel something about this markup. She says, please update the address, but this isn't an address. No, I'm just kidding. We made these markups on purpose just as placeholders. So I'm going to right click on top of this markup and I have several options: reply, set status, and alert. Set status is very permanent and it doesn't have a lot of flexibility. I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. So I recommend that you don't use it because you can use replies and alerts to accomplish the same goal. A set status is official though, so if you do use it, it is kind of nice, but just be careful. You can't really undo the process. So replies and alerts are quite amazing. The alert will tell you where something needs to be addressed and what it is, and the reply gives instructions on how to address it. So what I recommend doing is the following workflow. We're going to reply first. Now you can see this little white box has appeared here. I want to tell Raquel, thanks, I will update it tomorrow, for example. Geez, I'm such a procrastinator. So when I'm done, I'm going to press the escape key. Now, where did that reply go? It seems to have gone. All we need to do is open up our markups list. We're now going to select the markup. And now that we've selected it, we can see that there's a reply underneath it right here under subject. And there it is. Thanks, I will update it tomorrow. And Raquel, her comment, her little comment right here is actually translated to the comments in the markups list. So when she changes this, this will change here automatically as well. So I've given instructions for this. And so now she knows, but does she? And the problem is that right now Raquel doesn't really know that I've done this. She'll have to look at the markup and manually figure this out. I want her to know immediately that I will update it tomorrow. Don't worry, don't stress too much. So I need to alert her now. So I'm going to click on this once, right click on top of it, alert attendee. I'm going to choose who I want to alert. I can alert anybody about anyone's markup. It doesn't have to be Raquel. In this case, I like to bother her email and spam her email inbox. So I'm just going to click on her and click OK. This sends her an email. Depending on her notifications, don't worry, you can turn this on or off if you're getting too many emails. And under the notifications area here in Revu, it's going to flash orange for her. If she's not in the program, the next time she goes into the session, her notifications are going to flash for her. So she'll know that she got something. And then under notifications, it'll show exactly what happened. And as you can see, Raquel has actually notified me about quite a few things in the past. Look at that, since May 29th, my God. So I'm going to click on the last thing that she notified me about. It's now taken me to the 5th page of the document and automatically highlighted the markup. So there's no need to manually find things. You can now tell people where to find things just by using this alert function. And let's see, she alerted me here, so I need to check and see if there are any comments that she made or any replies. Let me open up the markups list and then click on the markup. If you have the markup highlighted and then you open the markups list, sometimes it doesn't highlight it automatically. So you'll want to deselect it and then reselect it again. Once the markups list is open, of course. And there it is. Here's the markup. The same comment that she wrote here is there. Can you calculate this area in feet? And I've actually replied to this in the past and said, yes, I will calculate it. And she replied to my reply. Look at that. It's a whole chain of replies. And you can go on and on and on. And you can either make a reply to the markup or a reply to a reply. And so that's it. Now I know we have all the instructions we need. We know which markup to address. We don't have to call each other or send emails and make a big, fiasco about it. It's all in the program itself. So quite nice stuff. And that's it. That's how we can communicate with each other in studio sessions. Now, I don't need in this studio session with me. I know that Alan is hosting the webinar, but I'm not going to ask him to get in here because we're also nearing the end of the webinar. So let's not worry about that. But I want to show you all how quickly people can see markups in a studio session. So what's really cool is that I'm online right now. So when I make a markup, you might notice it'll go a little quick, but you're going to notice that there's going to be this interesting red dot that appears and disappears really quickly. I'm going to go offline and show you what this red dot actually is. So I'm just going to pretend to go offline. I'm not really pretending. I am offline on Revu, of course. And now I'm going to make some checks. I love making checks. That's a V. Nice. And so we have all these red dots next to these markups. And when we mouse over them, they say pending upload. So because I'm offline, these markups are only visible to me. And they're not currently on the document. So nobody can see them but me. And so if I'm online, you saw how quickly that red dot disappeared, and that's how long it takes for somebody to see a markup. I'm going to show you that process now by going online, and as I go online, let's see how long it takes for each one of these markups to appear. So when the red dot goes away, the markup appears. Let's do a countdown. We are online, 3, 2, 1, there it is. They all went in sequence as well, which was pretty cool. So within a matter of seconds, 4 markups appeared on my sheet, and everybody can see them now. We can all see them in real time, so you can imagine that when I give instructional courses and teach people how to use this, we have about 5 or 10 people making markups at the same time and having fun and learning how to communicate with each other. It's almost like using like AOL Instant Messenger. You guys remember that? AIM, as they called it. Oh, look at that. Something with the attendees changed. Oh, interesting. Must have been me. You can see that orange attendees was flashing just now. I think Alan actually joined for a second and left. I wasn't paying attention though. Or maybe it was just me because I went online and offline. Anyway, very good. So that is how Studio Sessions works in a nutshell. Just so you all know, you can apply lots of security permissions to your Studio Sessions and projects. So you can allow and deny certain emails if you need to. And whoops, I had some emails there that clients that I've accidentally added to this session. I probably should remake the whole session. Once you actually add somebody's email to a studio session, you cannot delete it. You can only deny it. Just so you all know, a studio session, according to Bluebeam, is meant to be temporary, and a studio project has a bit more leeway in terms of the email list itself. So studio projects are a bit more permanent, and studio sessions are meant to be job-based or project-based. Not to be confused with studio projects, of course. Anyway, let's make sure that we have gone over almost everything. Yep, we looked at forms just a little bit. I'm going to show you guys how to automatically create form fields. I showed you all what form mode was when we made digital signatures, and the same thing applies to forms themselves. Here are a few form fields that I made. This is actually an automatic calculation field. So we're automatically calculating the first field with the second one. So I'm going to change this number to the number 50. And there it is. The third number has changed. So how does that work? Well, right now, if I click inside of here and I have properties open, I can only edit the contents within, but I can't change any properties. So I need to go into form mode. To go back into form mode, I have many ways to do it. I can select an existing field, either a signature or a text field, or I can make a new field. Now, when you make a new one, I'm going to click on text box. You'll see that the boxes have turned dark blue. It's just like how signatures worked. The signature field also turns dark blue. It's considered a form field as well. And when you make a new one, and if you try to click on another form field, you'll see that there aren't any grips around it. And so that's because Revu thinks that you're still trying to make another form field. And I can make one right now. My cursor is ready to make one. I'm going to press escape once, and you're going to see what happens. Now we have grips. So I've escaped out of making a form field, but I'm still in form mode. And because I selected this once, I'm now ready to modify its shape if I need to. And so now I can modify the grips and do what I need to. If I press escape a second time, I've now exited out of form mode and I can go back to editing the contents within. Let's click on text 1. Actually, we'll click on text 3 because this one is the one that I've turned into an automatic summation field. in Properties, I'm going to go all the way down, and we have under Calculate lots of options. By default, values are not calculated, but I've turned this into a calculation field. And so, as a result, I decided to make this a sum, very simple, and I'm going to select the two text boxes that I want to sum together. So text 1 and text 2 are the ones. To make this easier, I could always give these specific names. So instead of text 3, I could call this the total, and sum 1 and sum 2 could be different names for different criterion, for example. And now that I'm doing that, like I showed you all, I'll press escape a couple times, and I can change my contents once again. 20 plus 25 equals 45. There you go. And that's it. And so let me go show you all one last thing, because I know that we are 9 minutes until the end, and I want to leave some time for questions. We're going to close out of Properties for a second. Let me open up a really cool file. Actually, we'll just open up one of the pages right here. We have this credit card authorization form that my company made a long time ago. We made it in Microsoft Word, and I have turned it into a PDF. I've converted it into a PDF. And so we have a few things we can do with this. We can go to the Tools dropdown, go to Form, and because I have Review Extreme, which is the most powerful version of Review that has all the functionality, I can now use Automatically Create Form Fields, this function right here. You're going to see what happens right now. It scans, it looks for any flattened content, and there it is. Within a matter of seconds, I've automatically made all these form fields. They're all about the same size. And what's really cool is the signature, the word signature was detected. And as a result, this form field is not just a regular one where you can type data, but instead it's actually a signature field. So Review knew what to do there. It even knew that these boxes here are not just regular boxes or regular form fields, they're checkboxes. So I can now use them and I can check things on and off if I need to. So there's a lot of functionality, a lot of power in the Automatically Create Form Fields function. There's one last thing I want to show you all, and that is how do we edit the content on our PDF? Let's say that instead of a credit card charge authorization form, I need to change it to a debit card one. And I don't want to have to read. I just want to change those two words. I see the word credit here and the word credit here. I go to the Edit dropdown, PDF content, and we have many, many options. We can cut content, which allows us to do a copy and paste kind of, except that it's more of a cut and paste, so it'll delete whatever you cut. Erase is basically the same thing, but it erases it and does not put it on your clipboard, so you're not able to paste it afterwards. We can select text, we can select all text that exists, and edit text is what I want to show you all now. When I click on this, the entire document flashes away, and my cursor is now flashing next to the first set of actual vector data text. This text was made in a special program, and so because of that, it has special properties in it. So when you make text in Word, or if it's made from a CAD program, for example, Review knows this and can detect it. So the word credit is wrong, so I'm going to click right next to credit. I'm going to backspace a couple times, and I'm going to keep my Shift key pressed down as I type in debit. There we go. It kept the same font, same bold, same size, everything. And here I want to do the same thing, but I want to change one line at a time to be safe. So when I'm done, I press the escape key. And now it's a debit card charge authorization form. Let's go back to the Edit dropdown, PDF content, edit text. And one more time, I'm going to click right here and type in the word debit. Press the escape key and done. Now we've changed this form very quickly. And that is how you can use the edit text functionality very, very quickly. I'm going to undo everything I've done really quick. And we are going to go straight into questions. Actually, I'll just exit without saving. There we go. All right. So let us go into questions. Does anybody have any questions?
All right. So I do have somebody who asked here if the webinar is being recorded and if it's going to be distributed, and it is. You should be receiving an email if you registered for this webinar, which you did if you're here, hopefully in the next day or two with a recording. The next question I have here is, how do you get the architectural tools?
Oh, great question. I'm actually going to show you on my screen right now. So here is one of Bluebeam's websites. I'm actually just going to go to the Review Tools and Extensions portion. So here's the web address, support.bluebeam.com, and then Review-Extensions. And once you're here, you can click on Tool Sets.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see my screen, really? Oh, that's strange.
There you
Give me
go.
1 second. Oh, now wait, can you see this web browser right here?
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Phew. Okay, so all you have to do is go to this website right here and then click on tool sets. And then you have all of these different categories. So the architectural one is found right here. So here are all the things I imported to my review. So if you have any others that you're looking for, you can go on Bluebeam review forums that are made by users. And many people have made many different kinds of tools. If you want to make your own tool, by the way, I'll show you really quickly how that works. It's really cool. You can make groups of markups. So let's say that I wanted to make a complex tool that included this line right here, and then I include this square. I'm just doing this very quickly as an example. So there we go. What a weird looking tool. There you go. Something looks like a little seesaw kind of. So you can highlight all of these. You can group them together by right-clicking on top of any one of them once they're both selected, and then you can click on Group. Now they're considered a group annotation. They change from being individual markups. Now they're one thing that when I move one, the other one moves with it. And I can now save this to my tool chest, just like that. And there it is. And so that's how people made all of these tools. They're basically groups of individual lines and objects that were made to be all these complex tools. And there you go. Good question. Any other
Great.
questions?
Yeah. I had another one here. Can I create forms with review standard?
So sadly, no. The automatic form creation is allowed in Review Extreme, and it's a little bit vague on the FAQ for Bluebeam, because with Review Standard, you cannot even make forms. Now, if somebody puts forms on your sheet, you can fill them in. But if you go to the Tools dropdown in Form, not only is the automatically create form fields option gone, but all of these other options, except for digital signature, are also gone. So you cannot make text boxes, you cannot make your own radio buttons. So yeah, Review Extreme does have a big perk if you need to make form fields. I recommend that if only one person in your office needs to make forms, at least one person should have Review Extreme, and the rest probably don't need it. So, oops, let me go back to our PowerPoint. There we go.
Okay, I have another one here. Is it possible to enlist in the markups list the things that I do from the form tools?
No, so I will show you. Great question, actually. So let's go and get into form mode really quick, and let's select this text right here, and let's open up the markups list. We should actually select the text now. So what happens is these form fields do not appear in the markups list. They appear in the forms tab, so they have a separate tab for them that you can manage. As I select each one, I'm now selecting them in sequence, excuse me. And so the markups list is meant for markups. And if you need to, let's say that you need to take this form field and turn it into a markup, so to speak, there's a way to do it. What you could do is you can use a markup and highlight on top of the form field, and that could be it. So if you want to navigate to that form field quickly, you have two different ways. You can use the highlight tool and simply highlight below or on top of the form field. And now when you click on it, you can go in the comments and call it form field 1. That's one example. Another thing you can do, which is a little bit less intrusive, is let's say that if you wanted to click on a form field and you want it to take you somewhere. So if you click on some data and you want it to take you to a certain page or a document with more information about that form field, you can create a hyperlink on top of it. So here's the hyperlink function right here. It's this little chain link, the green chain link. And I can make a box around the form field. I'll leave a little bit of white space around it. There we go. And now I can set specific actions to this form field. It's not really to the form field, it's to the area that the form field resides in. So if you move the form field, then it's not going to move the hyperlink. These are two separate things. So let's say that I wanted to jump to a specific page that has some information about this. Let's pretend that it's going to be page 5. So we're going to jump there. By the way, you can jump to a hyperlink, which is basically a website. You can go to a specific portion of a page, for example. So let's go to the page itself, and we'll click OK. So now the hyperlink is ready to go. I can press Escape to deselect it. It's not visible. But what's nice is that when I move my mouse next to this form field, now I can just click, and there it is. I've now gone to page 5 on my sheet. So this is a decent way to allow yourself to turn that form field into a smart button, so to speak. So I can see why you guys might need to do that. So good question.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
One last one I got here. Can you install a Bluebeam review trial without paying for it, and how long does that last?
Great question. Yes. So a trial will last for 30 days. You'll have the functionality of Review Extreme for 30 days. So the full functionality of all the assets in the program. Once the 30 days is over, you'll have Review back into view mode. And if somebody invites you to a studio session, you can join the session and you'll have access to Review Standard in a studio session only. So yeah, if you guys need to, you can get a trial. If you don't want to use up your trial, then don't use the trial, and then you can just join studio sessions until you are ready to use Review and pay for it. Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's go to the next slide. So thank you all for attending today's Digital Plan Review for Governments with Blooping Review webinar. For those of you that don't know or are unfamiliar, we do have a blog that's live, and we've been slowly adding more and more content over there, and that's the link for it. It's at our website. Yeah, Ari can show you there.
I'm gonna go there right now. Yeah.
Yep. And so we have our blog, and you guys can check that out. There's plenty of little quick tips and tricks and topics that may be of interest. We are offering, as I mentioned, Bluebeam review training. We do customized training as well as essentials training on a monthly basis. And for upcoming webinars, you can go to our website, ddscat.com, and click on the events tab. And
speaking of which, here is the events tab right here, so you guys can click on it. And then here is our blog. We have an Autodesk and a Bluebeam one. So under Bluebeam, here are all the different tutorials that we've made, and it's basically an article with a video. So that'll give you some insight. If you need to go back and learn about the digital IDs information that we went over today, you can click on this link right here, and there it is. And you can see all that info right there.
Yep, and that's growing more and more every day. We're adding to that. And again, if anybody has any questions, concerns, anything like that, please shoot us an email at info@ddscat.com or give us a call at 305-445-6480. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.